I know there is a national emergency plan for fuel in place, but I have to say, the extent to which the DVLA have not been hurried along has really shocked me.
Yeah, I think that's right. I mean, you've touched here on leadership. There's been a lack of leadership in this situation before the crisis, and indeed during it. So before the crisis, obviously, in terms of the DVLA and various other measures that could have been put in place, lots of industry groups have been warning about the risks here to supply for some time. So there are a number of different opportunities for the government to step in and speed things up, because HGV drivers are enormously strategically important to the country. It's not just about petrol, it's also about supermarkets, it's also about key medicines. But this is a really, really key sector, and the government hasn't grasped the mettle on it before the crisis. And certainly Boris hasn't grasped the mettle during the crisis either, as you say, and as we've just seen. He's come out half an hour ago after the horses bolted to talk about the fact that, well, things are getting back to normal and everything's going to be okay, isn't it? But actually, what we needed was much earlier leadership from him, coming out a few days ago, rather than leaving it to Grant Shapps, coming out as the Prime Minister, as the Premier, with this crisis in hand, and saying, actually, everybody needs to modify their behaviour in some way, and then things will get back to normal. Actually, what we've had is Grant Shapps blaming drivers for panicking, whilst not doing anything to really reassure people that they shouldn't be panicking.
No, and just hoping it'll all sort itself out in a few days is not really leadership. And you're right. I mean, Boris has been missing in action until just a few moments ago. When it comes to deliveries of fuel to those 8,500 forecourts, I mean, is not the truth that actually most deliveries this week will be very similar to deliveries last week?
Yeah, that's right. The panic here has certainly made this situation considerably worse, and that is exactly where the failure of leadership comes in. Because had there been the opportunity to really reassure people about the fact that the petrol was available, and that if people were able to modify their behaviour, then this situation could calm down. If that message had come through a lot earlier on, then this situation would not have escalated to the point that it has escalated. Certainly when we are advising our clients at PLMR about how to take control of a situation, whether that's a chief executive of a business or whoever, we would tell them they need to be visible, they need to demonstrate that there's control, and they need to demonstrate confidence that there's a plan. That hasn't happened, and if that had happened much earlier on, then people would have calmed down a lot earlier, and also this situation wouldn't have got to the point that it's got to.
20 years ago, we had a fuel crisis. It was Farmers for Action blockading the refineries. How did the government deal with it then? Was it a different approach to crisis management under Tony Blair?
Yes, so you saw back in 2000 that Tony Blair actually held a press conference on the forecourts with the petrol retailers to say, look, this is the situation, and we all need to modify our behaviour and to take control of the situation. And if we do that, then we'll be able to move through it. But he was front and centre and visible, and that was the key thing. He made himself available. He went down to the garage. He stood there. He stood next to the people that were making the decisions and running the logistics of petrol stations, and said, this is the situation, and this is how we're going to get out of it. Where it was what we've had from the government is none of that. They haven't been there. They haven't been visible. Grant Shapps has been sitting in his office talking to people on the television and blaming them for their own behaviour, whereas actually what they needed to do was project some confidence and tell people how they ought to behave and to modify their behaviour accordingly.
Patrick Cousins, thank you for your insight.
Welcome to the GB News YouTube channel. You can watch us live 24 hours a day, catch up on your favourite shows, and join in the conversation in the comments below.
Don't forget to subscribe and you'll never miss any of our exclusive content.